Hello and welcome everyone to episode 117 of One Piece at a Time, the One Piece read-through podcast where we read and discuss 5 chapters of the One Piece manga each and every week. I'm your host, Derek Bittner, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host and freelance letterer at Shonen Jump, Brandon Bovia. How you doing, Brandon?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm, of course, Brandon Bovia, letterer of manga like Dragon Ball Super and Kaiju number 8, and that time again, new arc hype.
Yeah, we got a
started an arc
taste last time, but now we're really into the meat of it. And boy, howdy, we often talk about One Piece chaos as we've gone through these 500 plus chapters now. I'm willing to say at this point, this is the epitome of One Piece chaos. Up to this point,
it is.
I can't imagine a scenario more chaotic.
There's a lot of really good, just like character-based humor of just like characters interacting with each other and just like kind of seeing what ensues.
It's wonderful, and it's just entertaining. It's just entertaining.
Yeah. Despite being a prison where any number of horrible atrocities are occurring at any one moment. Like,
oh God, yeah, there is certainly things to talk about in regards to what the hell Impel Down is, because good God.
It's like a toy box almost, though. It's like a toy box version of a really horrible prison.
Very much so. This is sort of Oda's interpretation of Muscle Tower from Dragon Ball, I feel.
Yeah, but we're going down instead.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, let's do it. There's so much to talk about. So yeah, let's just get to it with chapter 526, Adventure in the Great Prison, where, boy, that's a hell of a 2-page spread.
Yeah, this one's awesome. It's got a very like ukiyo-e style, like classical Japanese painting look to it.
It's amazing how well it works.
Yeah, seriously. If
you didn't recognize those character designs as Nami, Zoro, and Luffy, you could totally see them as being original. Just being like,
I guess that's the thing. Like, this feels like Oda flexing in a way of just like his art skills. Like, you think of him as a very like, you know, goofy, cartoony kind of illustrator, but like this is like some genuine range. Yeah,
it's pretty impressive. I'm all down for it, but I love how he still has to squeeze in one weird random animal with his frog.
Yeah, the frog's just there.
He's chilling, so that's fun. But yeah, let's get a better look at Impel Down as Hancock enters, and of course she's getting jeered at by all the men. Kind of gross, but that's just the way it is. But time to meet a brand new character, Hannibal, the Underwarden.
I forgot about this guy. I love this guy's bit. He says, "Welcome to my Impel Down."
It's such a weird design. He's like a pharaoh devil thing, and
with a beer belly.
with a beer belly and giant brows that are kind of horns, but it's wild, but I kind of love him, and as you said, great bit. But yeah, he's constantly like trying to become warden. He's like, I'm a Hannibal, the Underwarden for now. Nice to meet you. He even calls the actual warden, Magellan, which we learn, an idiot. So I was like, hey, we'll take you down to her. And here's vice head jailer Domino. So let's check you all in. And it's like, oh, okay, we're already sort of getting the vibe of what Impel Down is all about.
Yeah, I love the breakdown here. I guess, this is Domino saying, like, the prisoners arrive here, they're taken into the area on the other side of that fence. Their clothes are removed, and the prisoners are thrown into a bubbling cauldron called the Underworld's lukewarm bath. It's rather like a baptism ritual, and it sterilizes them.
It's like, oh, like, God.
There's your first hit, like,
Well, that's the other thing is, like, I don't see a bath over there. I just see blocks with spikes underneath like a freaking Mario level.
Yeah, no, this is Impel Down is actually Bowser's castle.
Yeah, like on steroids, or maybe not. I don't know. It's like take all your final boss castles from platformers and it's just there.
Yeah, with just like a slight hint of like BDSM torture.
There we go. But we get mentions, of course, that there are many different classes of criminals, and some recent rivals include Fire Fist Ace, Jinbei, one of the 7 warlords of the sea, and former warlord Crocodile. They've undergone our baptism without batting an eyelid. So yeah, Crocodile's here too, which,
Would that even work on Ace? I mean, I guess if they all put Sea Prism Stone on them, maybe.
I have to they have to have Sea Prism Stone on him all times because especially Crocodile and Ace, they could just slip through.
Well, that's the thing with Crocodile. At least, like he's weak to water anyway.
That is true. That is a good point. That is a very good point.
Ace, I was like, yeah, but no, they almost definitely have Sea Prism Stone.
Ace is probably weak to water as well. When you think about it.
That's a good question. We have to figure that out.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, so Hancock is being led to be searched in a private room because, all sorts of things can be hidden under capes. We don't suspect you, but in order to ensure the security, we have a surveillance transponder placed throughout Impel. So they transmit, security footage. And she's like, put on these Sea Prism cuffs. And before she does, she's like, please be gentle. And she does her thing, and good thing the
transponder stale even gets turned to stone.
Yeah, that's good thing for that. I like it being organic actually worked out in the story's favor that Oda used that weird aspect of One Piece lore.
Yes. So, and I like that we're kind of getting some genuine tension here as like where Luffy's like actually sneaking in and hasn't like kind of caused any trouble yet, and of course Hancock's just like, all right, this is as far as I can take you, well, good luck with the rest. But
yeah, I had no idea how he was going to get out of that, but he's like, I was just going to try to sneak out super fast, and that was obviously not going to work. So good on Hancock. Like he absolutely would not have made it this far without her help.
Yeah, and I love how sort of genuine he is about it. He's just like, basically, thank you, I can take it from here. Gives her like a handshake, like, I promise not to cause any trouble. And then, of course, he actually calls her by her name. And then, of course, Hancock's just like, did he just call me Hancock?
My life is complete. So this is what requited love feels like. Just because he actually said her name right, finally.
That's great.
He called her a hammock the entire trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when Hannibal is like being contacted by like, hey, we lost feed from the inspection room. Is something wrong? It's like, what's Domino up to? It's like, hey, Domino's our problem. And immediately they walk out. It's like, did we take long? It's like, weird. It feels like there's a gap in my memory. It's like, boy, it sure is nice that Oda established how taking somebody out of the stone status works.
Oh yeah, that's true. That does feel very organic when you put it that. Like just like Hancock is kind of the perfect person to put in the situation, and I feel like as far as I remember, at least, and maybe as far as the like I think that's kind of it for her, at least for a bit. I don't know what other role she plays in this arc, but
I mean, she has one other small thing. She is still trying to help Luffy as much as possible in her own way, as we'll see later. But yeah, it's impressive how it just seems like naturally like, oh, this is just how it works when Marguerite and the others got unfrozen. And was like, oh, what happened? It's like, oh yeah, that's how her power works. So you just sort of forget what happened right before that. So
yeah,
brilliant,
yeah.
brilliant foreshadowing and setup.
Yeah, brilliant foreshadowing. Good use of character abilities. I love that kind of stuff. Like it feels like such a natural fit.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So we see Luffy stick to the tops and sneak his way out, and there goes Hancock down the elevator down to B4. Hannibal's like, yeah, as we pass through levels 1, 2, and 3, you will hear the screams of prisoners. Please enjoy the symphony of their anguished cries. It's like,
I love how casual they're just like, yeah, we torture people here.
Yeah, it's whatever. It's whatever.
Yeah. They're very honest about it. And of course, I love Luffy, giving a thumbs up, thank you, and then she reads his lips as he said, "I love you," and then she swoons and falls over on Momonga.
It's so good. It's also interesting. Like we realize that Hancock's kind of tall, and we see how tall Hannibal is, and like because Luffy seems kind of short compared to her, and Luffy's kind of short compared to a lot of people recently. But these guys are big.
I did not take note of that, but yeah, turning back to the first page where Hannibal shows up, yeah, he's towering over both Momonga and Hancock. Good lord.
Also, we didn't mention it, but he holds a literal pitchfork. But
yeah.
Luffy realizes that the Viva card is his best way of figuring out where to go, and it's like, all right, it goes down, so we got to start heading down. And that's when we get a little view of the outside where there's one of the sea beasts, and all of a sudden it starts screaming, and its midsection gets cut up, and these things just with skulls and giant axes, grab the pieces of meat, return to Impel Down, and like, food collection complete. It's like,
yeah, that's where they're called the Blue Gory, apparently.
Yes, our Blue Gory, which, interesting. And we see a monitor room where they're trying to keep an eye on Buggy because he's from level 1, group cell number 4. He's in the corridor near solitary cell 22. So they're already after Buggy. He's up here. And Buggy's like, rats, they already found me. And punches the snail.
He punches one of the lousy snail. That's great. And I love all of the other folks in jail are just kind of like, that's what he gets for trying to escape without us. They're gonna torture him for sure.
And sure enough, here come the Blue Gory after him, and Luffy's just sort of trying to find his way. It's like, man, it keeps a dead end, but I should be below sea level by now. So where's it going? And he sees people running towards him, so he immediately gets to the roof, the ceiling again to try to hide. And he's just like, man, this place is huge, and there's screams everywhere, and immediately comes across prisoners like, how'd you get out of there?
I love the sequence, because it is just like Luffy's genuinely trying not to cause a ruckus.
We saw what happened when they were like told by the crew to be subtle, quiet, not get caught when they were trying to enter into Iceberg's office when they were on the run. And he just did not worry about that whatsoever. I think this is the first time ever we've seen Luffy actually be stealthy.
Yeah, and I think it's got to be one because he's desperately trying to find his brother, but also like realizes the stakes of like this is basically the most guarded place on the entire planet.
I'm in over my head, and I already failed to beat an admiral. I've had no time to train, so I'm not any stronger. There are limits to what I can actually pull off here.
Yeah, it makes sense, but it's one of those things that you're like, oh, I didn't think Luffy would actually attempt to be sneaky, but it is sort of a bit of like almost character development for him.
Yeah, it sort of goes into his intelligence, where you see how his confidence works. Like when he's completely confident, does not worry.
I think crucially, he doesn't have his crew here either.
That
so
too.
He doesn't have like, my crew's here to back me up. Like, no, he's all alone right now. So,
for sure, and we sort of see how the prison is structured, where the lower your initial bounty when you got caught is, the higher up you'll be. So because Ace is over 100 million, he's down on level 4, and actually level 5. That's where all the bounties over 100 million are. So. Oh boy, Luffy would be far down.
Yeah, and all the prisoners are just kind of like, you want to go to the guards room and steal the key for me? Like, you must have been sent here by destiny.
Yeah. We have a goal. Luffy knows he has to make it to level 5, and we know he has that goal. But that's when Buggy shows up, and you gotta love how it's not Luffy that causes all this. It's Buggy that causes him to get caught and for it to not be a stealth mission anymore. Because he's getting chased by the Blue Gory. He gets cut in half. And is like, we got the return of Buggy, and my God, does Oda make full use of him?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I feel like we're gonna see a lot of God, because I mean, yeah, we saw him last in Rogue Town, but like he didn't really like fight or anything. So like really, it's our first time seeing him in action since like chapter 20, maybe something
like that.
If that, but yeah, just like I love even. Just like, Buggy got cut in half by the Blue Gory, but like, he's a chop man. So like, all it means is that he has to run on one leg on each half.
It's kind of amazing. And then you get his freakouts about Luffy being next to him. It's like, what the? And then just Luffy reacts, oh, it's Buggy.
Yeah. I love this assumption, they finally caught you, you impudent fool. He's like, I didn't get caught, I snuck in. Just right off of the bat, in the midst of the action, like these two's interactions they're gold. It's great.
It's like he starts tearing up. It's like, I know. I heard I was here and you came to rescue me. No. What a revolting thought. I mean, the last time these two saw each other, Buggy tried to cut off Luffy's head.
Yeah, he tried to kill him. So of course, Luffy's not necessarily happy to see him.
No, especially because it's like, I promised Hancock I wouldn't cause a ruckus, and now you drag me into this. So
yep.
They're just sort of arguing with each other as they're dodging these Blue Gory with the giant axes, which I love how Oda used that little hunting to sort of establish the threat level of these guys.
Yeah, that they can just chop up a bunch of Sea Kings just like nothing.
And Luffy's like, do we have to run away from him? It's like, if they catch us, we'll be tortured. You know how ruthless they are. It's like, well, I can't get caught in a hurry. I've already caused a ruckus, so let's go for it. And we end the chapter with Buggy and Luffy side by side sending out their fists.
What a visual. I never thought I'd see Luffy and Buggy fighting side by side, just punched out at the same time. It's a great panel. Mm-hmm. They're just like, which is like, again, just due to the circumstances, they're like, all right, screw it. We got to fight together.
I mean, One Piece is nothing if not calling back to the past and like having elements come forward and just use them in new ways or seeing how they've evolved or whatnot. But this feels like fan service for people who've been reading for a long time. Like, here's a bunch of old characters, as we'll see as we get more and more into this. But yeah, we do have an SBS, and hey, we were right. That first mate girl that we kept talking about last time, she didn't have a name. Well, not one that was shown anyway. So Oda, we got somebody asking about the Kuja girls. What are all their names? And thanks to this, we know that the first mate girl is Ran. Then we got, I can't describe all of them, but we got Rindo, Daisy, Cosmos, and Bluefan as part of the pirates. The one that was always taking notes is Nareen. The doctor was Belladonna, and the maid was Janista. So there we go. Ran is our first mate. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah. Also, my God, the observation skills of the fans. They looked at Grandma Neon's newspaper and saw Buggy.
I honestly, they zoomed in on it. I cannot tell that that's Buggy. Like I
can
maybe just
and the nose.
The hat. Yeah. Oh man, maybe it's easier to see in print, but good Lord.
I don't know, because I think that the Shonen Jump quality of paper, and I'm like, it might be even harder.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, that's it. We'll go into it later, but he got caught by entering a Navy garrison that he thought was a cave with Captain John's treasure. So
amazing.
Yeah, there we go.
Good old Buggy.
Like, I think we're pretty observant, but my God.
Yeah. The readers are on another level, man. I could never.
No, not at all. Let's get to chapter 527, level 1, Crimson Hell.
Crimson Hell.
And we get to see interaction between father and son. Spandam and, what was it, Spandine? Was the father's name?
I think so, yeah. Spandine, something like that.
And they're not taking the abandonment of the CP9 agents well. They're actually plotting to kill them.
Mm-hmm.
So,
oh boy,
cool. They still suck, but honestly, I'm more disappointed that they're both alive.
Yeah. Oh man, I kind of feel bad for the CP9 guys in the situation. I mean, they all knew that their boss was just like a huge turd. But they worked for him anyway, just because they clearly they had something that they believed in. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they had orders, and they're highly skilled, and now they're just like, all right, I can't help but feel at least a little bad.
Yeah, for sure. But we'll see how that all develops as time goes on. And kind of get our thoughts, because if you've read these chapters, this is the end of the CP9 story, so I got some thoughts once we get to the end there. But for now, it's Buggy versus a Blue Gory. We kind of get to see how much he's improved since the fight with Luffy.
Yeah, I actually I love the sequence for two reasons. And one is seeing Buggy actually get to take one on, and again, actually using his chop powers really smartly and really efficiently.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. He knocks him to the ground. He's like, all right, it's pretty effective. Go Buggy. And then it gets up, and he's like, that didn't stop him.
Yeah. And then here comes Luffy. He just runs in and punches one straight in the gut, knocks it down. And then you see that poor reaction. Well, it's an awesome panel for one. Yeah. And then you see Buggy just mouth agape like, looks like you've gotten stronger since the last time I saw you.
And Luffy's just like, these guys are tough. What are they? Well, they're blue gorillas, the ocean's martial artists, but we call them Blue Gory. So they're gorillas under these things. Okay.
Yeah. I was like, don't let your guard down. There's still 4 left. Next panel. They're already all down.
You've defeated them. You get the sense that Oda loves Buggy because he can just go as over the top as possible thanks to his powers.
Yes, it's just his body is detached constantly in all sorts of weird ways.
Heaven knows if the live action One Piece will reach this point, but I can imagine the Buggy actor killing this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I feel like he was made for this kind of thing.
Oh, for sure. But that's when we start seeing the guards start getting reports. It's like, I thought there was only one prisoner on the roost, but like, we're not positive, but we thought we saw another one. And they defeated 5 Blue Gory. I was like, wait, that shouldn't be any prisoners on level 1 who could beat a Blue Gory. And
I also, just as a quick little thing, I do love that they've got just like a legitimate like security setup, but it's just, all of this is all run on transponder snails. It looks just like a real world like security room, just snail powered. It's great. Like they look like normal ass security guards.
They do, but I gotta say, the outfit designs are very Gestapo-ish.
Certainly.
And I feel like that might be a little intentional.
Oh boy, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh boy. Indeed. Buggy's like, it's just immediately freaking out. You're here to rescue Ace. Like, shh, they'll find us. You're the one who shouted. And of course, the other prisoners are asking to get the keys to free up the cells. It's like, Luffy's just like, Ace? It's like, unlike you, your brother has manners. We got to be drinking buddies the other day, which I still can't remember this. I can't remember if Ace actually met up with Buggy or not. I think he did in his one shot.
I swear that I feel like that has to have been in one of the cover stories.
It had to have been in Ace's cover story.
Yeah, I genuinely can't remember.
I think it actually is, because he just sort of ends up on their crew and just sort of invites himself and somehow ends up as a drinking buddy. I forget.
Yeah, but, I feel like there's something there, though. I feel like that we actually did see them interact on screen at some point.
I think so. We're absolutely just forgetting. There's a lot to remember. But again, it's an element of, hey, those cover stories matter.
Yeah, those interactions do matter.
So Luffy's just like, hey, I want to go down to level 5. That's where Ace is. Like, who knows? Go wherever you want. I don't care. You think we're friends, but I'm not going down there. That's suicide. Buggy's just like, all right, bye. And that's, man, I picked a bad time to escape. Maybe I'll kill some time. And that's when he notices something. And I don't remember this thing at all. Because,
oh, you don't?
Yeah, I don't remember when Luffy got this exactly.
It was he got it from Nami right at the end of Thriller Bark.
Oh, I just didn't even think about it. Was he picking through the treasure and just saw one random thing and just like, oh, I'll wear this.
Something like that. I'm pretty sure it was like, I want to say it was after like the whole thing with Kuma, like right when they were getting ready to leave, and I think giving some of the treasure to God, what's her face?
Lola.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. I think it was that scene.
Okay.
And so what's weird about this is because obviously like Buggy freaks out because he wants it. It's weird to me because it feels like Oda might have had a different purpose for it at some point, because it does just kind of come and go.
Yeah, it's there. You kind of forget about it because it's just a decoration on Luffy for a moment, and then suddenly it has importance with Buggy.
Right. I guess it's like, I don't know if Oda couldn't figure out another way to kind of like get Buggy to kind of pretend to work together with Luffy, just like, kind of like, I'll tell you how to get to Ace if you give me that armband. Like that, it feels like if he went out of his way to draw Luffy with that armband for like 50 chapters, there probably was some kind of other significance that he might have had. I don't know. I'm spitballing, but it just feels like a weird way to bring this up now. Yeah.
Because, well, he gets excited about it, and of course, with him screaming, you get caught again.
Yep.
It's funny to think that Luffy's the smart, sneaky one in this situation.
Yeah. I was just gonna bring that up earlier. Like Luffy's kind of the straight man in his interactions with Buggy, which is not like a position you ever see Luffy in, which is, I think, kind of what makes their comedy work.
Yes, absolutely. It's just that's how much crazier Buggy is, because he's constantly showing how, like, you never see him almost in complete body. He's constantly just detaching himself and all of that. Yeah. And it's like, hey, I'll tell you how to get to Ace. Really? If you do, will you give me the armband? Yeah, it's a deal. But first we have to evade the guards. So, hey, hold my feet and run as fast as you can. So that allows Buggy to take to the air and move faster because, well, his feet can't fly, as we established in the original fight between the two of them.
Yeah, I kind of like that we get this little reintroduction to his devil fruit power, because again, it's been like 500 chapters.
Certainly. And he's like, all right, we'll get you to the entrance to level 2. He's like, but I want to go to level 5. Well, you can't go there directly. So here's how it's laid out. You got level 1, and then the further down you go, the stronger they get. And we even have a mystery floor, like after level 5. It's like, what is that?
Yeah, why would it not just be called level 6?
Mm-hmm. And he only knows stuff because he was sent down to level 4 to be tortured, but doesn't know anything below that. But level 5 prisoners have bounties of 100 million, which we've heard before. So yeah, we're kind of just getting the breakdown there. So there are monsters that have been they are so dangerous they've been erased from history. It's only rumor, but they may be holding Ace there. But I can only take you to level 4. It's like, oh, wow, you got helpful all of a sudden. It's like, yeah, you promised to give me the treasure market that'll show where Captain John's loot is. Which finally explains why he was all about this.
Why he wanted it. Yeah, I got a little bit ahead of myself. But I do love... Luffy doesn't even care. He's just like, oh, they kept you on level 1 because you're so weak.
Shut up.
Got him.
It's like, well, at least he didn't notice. He's good thing he's a moron. So this armband is like a treasure map, huh? I didn't know that. It's like, oh, you heard me? I'll take it by force. Oh, here you go. Oh, you're still giving it to me?
I love this because, again, it's just like this is Luffy's just genuine goodness. And again, he doesn't care about this treasure. He's way more concerned about Ace. But I love, Buggy's just kind of like, well, I could just abandon you and run away. Like,
yeah, but
Luffy's just like, you said you'd take me there.
Yeah. Don't look at me like that. I'm a scoundrel. No good pirate. You shouldn't trust guys like me.
I love Buggy, man.
He's like, I wanted to get my hands on Captain John's treasure marker for a long time. It's mine at last. Thank you, Straw Hat. Now to ditch this fool. And then he runs into a wall.
Crashes. Yeah. And he's like, I love Luffy's like, is this a shortcut through this wall? And then he just punches through. He
just grabs Buggy and starts forcing his way through, which into the guard room, which is even better.
Oh my goodness. Just complete chaos.
And that's where they go through to the other side of the guard room and end up inside what looks to be a forest inside the prison, except the trees are all red and there's a lot of people down there. It's like, oh no, this is no ordinary forest. The leaves of the trees are like knives. They're blade trees.
So that's blood.
Yeah, that's all blood. There's spike needle grass below them. The jailers release poisonous spiders down there. So the victims get so cut up the whole place is stained red and they're writhing in pain. It's like, this is level 1? Good God.
Yeah, and just, again, you're seeing all these guys just covered in blood, go, help me, oh, the pain, it hurts. It's just like, whoo. This is not a good place.
No. It's like, okay, you caught these guys. They have sea prism stones on them. What's the point of torturing them?
Right, yeah, they're all, if assuming that any of them have devil fruits at all, like, they're all harmless at this point. But, no, yeah, you kind of get the sense, like, and again, it's sort of portrayed in a humorous fashion, but is also like, no, like the world government does not treat their prisoners with any level of humanity whatsoever.
Not even close. But I love the way that Luffy and Buggy are able to work together, because Buggy does show himself to be useful because Luffy's able to climb onto Buggy's back, toss down Buggy's feet, and because Buggy's feet can also split, they just have to touch the ground. He can walk through the spikes, no issue.
Yeah, and so as long as his feet are in range, Buggy can fly. So he can just fly, and his feet don't take any damage from the spikes because, he can just, like they're cut in half.
Yeah. And that's when, like, there's a way out, an exit from this hell, but no one's going to consider it because it leads to level 2. So an even more terrible hell. So nobody jumps in on purpose, and Luffy's like, cool, I just have to jump in, right? Here I go.
Right, yeah. I guess that's sort of the fun thing about Impel Down as a structure is, like, obviously, it's almost laid out like a video game, like, oh, every level is harder than the previous one, but, Luffy wants to go down, so it's just like, nobody would ever want to go down. It's like, I do.
Yeah, I want to go down, so let's do it. It's like, and Buggy's like, I can run away now and be rid of him. I ditched him. The treasure marker is mine. I'm not stupid enough to take you all the way, Straw Hat. Go ahead and go on to level 3 or 4. Get yourself killed. And that's when a blue gory shows up, tries to cut him, and he slips.
Womp womp.
And falls straight into level 2, where we see various monsters roaring, and everybody's like, man, the monsters are angrier than usual. And we end with another blast from the past returning. Hello, Mr. 3.
Yeah, more and more old villains showing back up.
Like 2 chapters, two introductions. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, we got Buggy, we got Mr. 3. Who else is going to show up? Who else? I feel like it's, it kind of keeps the reader on their toes. Like, oh man,
Yeah, how many of these old villains are actually going to make an appearance? That's the question. We do have another SBS, and this one's actually very cool. This is a fun read, because a reader basically wrote in and said, In volume 53's question corner, you wrote that you wanted to wrap up One Piece. So I wanted to send this to you saying, please don't say that. Don't apologize for making us spend money. I don't have a question. Just please don't stop One Piece, basically. And Otis is like, I didn't mean anything significant. Basically, there's an ideal length of serialization, and it's something all readers can easily buy. It's been going a long time. I can't expect everyone to buy all 50 volumes. I know how small kids' allowances are. That's why I made a lot of summary books that wrap up past stories, and I always ask the publishers to make them as cheap as possible. And they both did it for him, which is it's too cheap, and it's free, in fact. So awesome job. And there's even a Japanese website, One Piece Web, that will explain everything that happened in the past. So the kids who can't buy the books to catch up could use that as a resource. But I also love how he says, hey, to the adults, go buy the books. And as far as the length of the story is I'm not tired of drawing or anything. What I want to do hasn't changed at all. It's where all sorts of stories come together, and the final chapter is the most fun. The story of One Piece is still in the middle, and that's extremely true. If you have time, I hope you can read the whole thing through.
I think I don't think Shonen Jump has an app subscription like it does here in the West. But I think he would be pleased to know that that feels true to the spirit of what he's saying, that you can read all of One Piece for $3 a month.
Yeah. If you go all out, you can catch up on One Piece in a month for just $3.
Yeah, and I know people who've done that, especially back when we were all trapped inside during the pandemic. It's just well, I got nothing to do, so I might as well read 900 chapters of One Piece. It's all just right there, so you might as well just go for it.
Yep, indeed. So, good stuff. But let's go ahead and move on to chapter 528, Jinbei, First Son of the Sea.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think it's finally time to meet this Jinbei that we keep hearing about, this warlord, the final warlord.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. And also, the final chapter of CP9. The ship disappears into oblivion, where we see that weird robot guy as spheres, and they've taken the ship and left. And that's it for CP9, which honestly left me a little what's the point of this one?
I feel like it could have ended maybe 5 or 6 chapters ago. I feel like once they kind of got Spandam involved, and once they were kind of on the run from the government, I don't know, that, all that stuff was just fine. I really thought it should have wrapped up once they beat up the Candy Pirates or whatever.
Yeah, or something like that. It's interesting to see the origin point of Cypher Pole, where a bunch of them agents are trained, and we see them obviously wanting to get stronger and promising to return. So those elements are interesting, and of course seeing them recover. There's also a nice detail. It took me a while to realize what was going on, because in the foreground there's a flower. That's the flower the little girl gave to Khalifa.
Oh.
So
it almost feels like they're trying to protect the next generation.
Yeah, it seems like they really care about kids.
But it was their fault that the Marines came to that island in the first place.
True. So I don't know. So it's one of those where it's we didn't have a strong, even for as weak as some of these chapter stories have been, or we've had criticism about them. They've at least brought a character from point A to point B, and it didn't seem like there was much of a distance from point A to point B for CP9 this time around.
Yeah, it felt kind of, I don't know how to put it. I thought this one was just fine overall, but
inconsequential, I guess, is the best way to put it.
Inconsequential, yeah. That's certainly how I feel about it. But I guess I'm coming from a perspective of how do I want to put this? Yeah. I don't know how they get from point A to point B from here, I guess is how I'll say things.
Okay. Yeah. I honestly have no clue what happens beyond this for CP9 or anything like that, because obviously we've seen others show up. So it wouldn't surprise me if they had some sort of cameo or something like that in some way. But it's just one of those things where it's a fine chapter cover story, but maybe not the strongest of endings.
Yeah. I think the ending kind of being just kind of okay, yeah. That's fine.
When Wapple feels like he has more story progression than CP9, it feels a little off.
Fair enough.
Anyway, let's get into the chapter itself where we're in level 2, demonic beast floor, and yeah, it seems to apply. They're getting chased.
They just got monsters. What kind of prison is this?
Right? It's just like Buggy's promoting the fact that he's in level 2 and never intended to go here. He's like, that's a rare mutant beast. It's called a basilisk, a snake born from a chicken. And I love Oda's weird ass animal designs. Like,
yeah.
Sure, this is his version of a basilisk, and it is insane.
He's just having so much fun.
I don't think I will ever see creature designs like Oda's. Like,
yeah,
you think about Toriyama and his monster designs for Dragon Quest and whatnot. I'm just imagining some new RPG deciding, or maybe even Dragon Quest deciding, like, it's Oda back in the day, and this is what those Dragon Quest monsters looked like instead.
Yeah. I mean, we sort of talked about that a little bit with, like, One Piece Odyssey definitely has, like, some very Toriyama-ish monster design that feel kind of like, but also, like, this is just how Oda draws weird animals. I feel like there wasn't enough of that in that game, especially compared to seeing all of the weird nonsense you get up to in here.
For sure.
There's definitely, you could probably make a great bestiary just out of all of the weird effed up monsters you see in One Piece.
For sure. It'd be so interesting to see Oda's interpretation of certain monsters. And like, well, here's the basilisk. So there we go. And Luffy's getting ready to fight. He's like, that thing's mom was a chicken? He just doesn't understand. It's like, well, it's time to fight. But instead,
all right, you asked for it.
Instead, it's time to go to the warden's office on level 4. Hancock admits that, yeah, it really is hot here. It's like, you might say there's a fire behind that wall, which, knowing this place, there probably is.
I love this little bit we get about Warden Magellan is so bizarre.
It is. At first, it made sense, and then it became a joke, and it's really funny. So,
yes.
Magellan has diarrhea for about 10 hours each day. It's part of his daily routine to hole up in the restroom.
Good Lord.
He also sleeps about 8 hours a day. What the hell is he doing on that thing? Like, I know what he's doing, but how's he passing the time?
He's got a lot of newspapers to read.
Yeah, for sure. Given time off for meals and breaks, he only works about 4 hours a day. So he's the boss here. All of a sudden, it makes sense that Hannibal wants to be the warden.
Right. If he's just kind of like, God, the boss here, like he's not even around. I'm the one doing all the work.
But he can be very protective when necessary. But here he comes. We also get mentioned that he's a devil fruit user. He's eaten the venom fruit. So everything about him is poisonous. So be careful. And hi, Satan.
Yeah. Here's another. Yeah. Just literally Satan. We have another absolute unit on our hands. He's probably, about an extra third bigger than Hannibal. Who's already massive.
Straight up black coat, hair modeled into horns, wings as well. What the heck?
Yeah.
He calls his time on the toilet another fierce battle. Then you get his sort of gimmicks. Like, this room is too bright. I want to be shut away somewhere dark. I'd also like to shut away my heart. He's just like, yeah, I'm sorry I had diarrhea. I got food poisoning from my poison soup this morning. I think you got poisoned because it was poison. As a poisonous human, poison is my favorite food. You know what they say, fight poison with poison. It doesn't work. That's why you get the diarrhea. So it's not... Yeah. I was like, oh, he's a poison man, so that's why he always has diarrhea. No, he's just an idiot who eats poison because he thinks that's how it works, but as a poison man.
I think what works so well is his dynamic with Hannibal here, where he's kind of like, he knows what he's up to. Or he's just, he's like, you got a very venomous tongue, Hannibal. Well, yeah. And then Hannibal's like, I wish you'd hurry up and resign. Oops, that was a slip of the tongue. I meant to say that they want to see Fire Fist Ace as soon as possible. And he's like, that was very hurtful.
And he just sighs because his underlings are so unkind, and his breath is a poison gas, which... Mm-hmm. And that's when he starts laughing. He's like, serves you right, insolent underling. And poor Hancock has to just like breathe through a gas tube like a breath mask, and then she like immediately makes him submit, even though she has her cuffs on. She's like, "How dare you expose me to your toxins?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm in love." Yep. And then Hannibal starts seating the chief's seat.
Yep.
There's just these three wacky, exaggerated characters all interacting, and it's amazing.
I would watch a sitcom with these guys.
And this is the other part of Hancock's contribution and how she is trying to help Luffy as much as possible, because they get a call about there being an intruder in Impel Down. He's like, hey, transmit his image to me at once. No one's ever broken into this prison in all of history. It's a calamity. It's like, and Hancock's like, oh crap, they discovered him already. And then she just goes into her seduction mode. I'd like to see the prisoner as soon as possible. Whatever you desire. It's like, we have an emergency. Yeah. And all right. That's it. They lost
Great
contact.
Distraction. Yep. Rip. Oh yeah, we've lost contact. Oh, God.
So again, thank God for Hancock. The actual guard room is like, yeah, this intruder is definitely Straw Hat Luffy.
Well, we got caught.
And that's when they try to call guard room on level 2, and there's nothing left of them. They've been wiped out, and Luffy is little, which means we missed Gear 3. And he's defeated the Basilisk because of that.
I love that Buggy's holding an axe. He was going to try to fight that thing.
Yeah, he got one of the Blue Gory's axe from the one that Luffy defeated, and he's just been hanging out with it up until now.
It is also interesting to note that, I mean, obviously, like, things are going to get more and more intense, but we're on level floor 2, but like Luffy was able to take that thing out in one punch, basically.
I mean, he hasn't reached the 100 million floor, and he's at 300 million bounty. So yeah, he's not quite at the level, but it still comes across as threats for sure.
Yep.
But of course, all the prisoners are like, hey, he beat the Basilisk, and he wrecked the guard room at the same time. Thanks. Now find the keys and get us out of here. So they're over there, and that's when Mr. 3 notices it's Luffy. It's like, if he's not in a cell, he must be trying to escape. Maybe I can get him to help me. This is my chance to break out. I haven't been forsaken. And Buggy is actually the one to use the keys and free all the prisoners. And he gets all of them like, who's the man that set you free?
I love this. Like this is the beginning of like like all these prisoners just, like ride or die for Buggy.
Yeah. He's like, I fell down here by accident, but if I let these guys out, I might be able to slip out in the confusion. He's still only thinking of himself, but has these guys like, hell yeah, Captain Buggy.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Luffy's just kind of like, he grabs Buggy and is just like, is there another hole that goes downstairs?
It's like, I don't know how to get to level 3. I don't know the layout. It's like I'm mazed down here. And they hear another roar. And like, what are you talking about? You said take me to level 4. It's like, I lied. I wanted the treasure marker, so I lied. Now the prisoners on this floor are going to riot. And wait a second. That's all the prisoners have returned to their cells. It's like, yeah, we're not actually leaving. The boss of the floor is still here, so we're actually safer in our cells.
That's messed up.
Yeah. And that's when Mr. 3 approaches, like, I may be able to help you. It's been a long time, Straw Hat. And I'm free now, thanks to you. I'm a man who repays my debts. Who are you? Oh, you're the guy from the Island of Giants, Mr. 3.
I love that Luffy doesn't recognize him until like Mr. 3 like puts up his hair in a 3 because it's like it's all deflated because he's in jail.
Yeah, that's pretty great. But we turn to Ace's cell, where it turns out this is where Jinbei's locked up as well. He's been returned, and gosh, he just says, I'm not going anywhere. And just, God, that visage that he has is just wild. Let me see that Minotaur thing just crack him over the head with that spiked bat or spiked club. And good God, it's so brutal. And he just comments, I can't even scratch myself. And Ace is sort of like, oh, it looks like they gave you another beating. It's like, it's not my flesh that hurts. It's my heart, Ace. Because I'm not able to do what's right. And we get to see Jinbei. And
there he is.
That's an awesome design. That might be my favorite Fishman design.
Now that we've seen him proper on screen, after I checked, he was first mentioned way back in chapter 69 on the way to Arlong Park.
Wow. So
and now we've
the
finally
second warlord mentioned.
Yes,
but the last one seen.
Yep.
Amazing. But yeah, he is a whale shark fishman, first son of the sea, former bounty of 250 million berries. Holy crap.
He's a big deal.
Yes, he is. And again, I love his design, but we get a bit more about him too. It's like, I can't die yet. I don't care if I'm one of the 7 warlords. That means nothing, but I'd gladly give my life to stop this war. Which, like,
that
we might have another honorable warlord on our hands. Holy crap.
Yeah, I think we'll get into it in just a little bit, but like, there's something so cool. All that we really knew about Jinbei leading up to like on the way, because we had that one scene where it was like Sengoku was like, all right, we got everybody but Jinbei, because he's basically morally opposed to this war. When I thought he would be the one to be on my side the most, but. So it's interesting that he's all the way, they sent him all the way down here just because he didn't want to fight.
Yeah,
he doesn't want to fight Whitebeard.
It's saying something, and I also wonder if it has something to do with him being a fish man.
That's definitely part of it.
Yeah.
We'll all get into that fun stuff, and there's a lot to love about Jinbei. I'm so glad he's finally on screen because I get to talk about him a lot because he's great.
Yeah, we'll learn a bit more about him soon, but we have another SBS where somebody else noticed that the design of Hancock has been around for 9 years because it was on the cover of Jump. As Oda says, people on the internet noticed this, but I completely forgot. This picture was in the illustration collection Color Walk 2, but during that time, the crew had just entered the Grand Line. The editors told me to draw the back view of enemies that will come. So I drew about 4, and I remember that Hancock was one of them. So when I actually did bring her out in the comic, a lot about her is different, but that design is indeed Hancock's early design 9 years ago.
I love this for a lot of reasons. And I feel like we're kind of at that point where I feel like for characters who are kind of like in shadow, I feel like are kind of like teased. I feel like from this point onward, like they don't change that significantly from when they're teased to their eventual appearance. But very, very early on, it's interesting to see like which characters kind of like changed a bit. We've seen some already. Like we've seen the other emperors in shadow. And it's very funny to kind of see, when we actually do see them on screen eventually. Like there are definitely some differences and some similarities, but I feel like at this point, Oda's got everybody just about figured out on some level. But it's interesting to me too that he's like, like her personality changed a lot, but the design is more or less is at least like recognizable as Hancock.
Then we have another write-in, actually from Italy. And they want to know the connections of the 2 agents that went to O'Hara with Spandine have with the current CP9 agents. Specifically, the guy with glasses, because he gets the feeling that that's Khalifa's father. And yeah, turns out that's right.
That's insane.
He didn't even give any hints about it. I told my editor at the time about it, but this person, we get a picture, is actually her father. But most of the CP9 members are orphans that have been trained by the government, but we thought it might be interesting if among those children are some who belong to a long bloodline of agents. Kumidori's mom isn't one of them, by the way.
Wow.
Again, the observation skills of diehard readers and the details that Oda himself puts in. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know. Again, I never would have noticed that.
All right, chapter 529, level 2, Beast Hell. And we're back to the crew hanging out with animals again. So
yeah, it's just Luffy riding on top of a giant beetle.
Yeah, as you do.
It's good stuff.
But we get more from Jinbei in the chapter itself. He's like, to the government, I'm a pirate who hates other pirates. But you people were different. And Ace is like, a pirate hater? You? Yeah, it made strange to you because I had visited Whitebeard's ship many times, but because of my position, I had to be discreet and do everything underwater. I liked you people. And Ace is like, I seem to remember that you almost killed me once. And Jinbei's like, you almost killed me.
You really get the sense that these 2 characters have history.
They do. And that makes it fun. It's very different. But the reason that Jinbei wants to prevent this war is that the only reason that Fishman Island is at peace is because of Whitebeard. As we've learned, Fishman Island is directly underneath the Red Line. It's the only way to reach the New World. So all the pirates who were setting sail to the New World have to have passed by Fishman Island. So the island ended up becoming ravaged, overwhelmed by humans and human pirates and naval forces pursuing them, which also meant lots of mermaids and mermen and fishmen getting captured and sold off into slavery.
This is such a cool bit of world building because it makes total sense too, right? Like
totally.
Like Fishman Island is basically the only way to get to the New World. It makes sense that like it would
every single pirate would deal with this, and we've seen our fair share of pirates.
Yeah, and not only pirates but the government too. The Marines, and especially if fishmen and mermaids and mermen like are highly sought after. Like it suddenly, this is sort of supposed to be kind of like a secluded kind of society, that's already seen their fair share of like hardship, and suddenly it feels like one of those things that's kind of an unintended consequence of like Roger setting off like the great age of pirates.
Right. And that's why he respects Whitebeard, because Whitebeard showed up and it's like, this island is my territory. You mess with it, you mess with me. And we found out nobody wants to mess with Whitebeard.
That's power. As Jinbei says, like, Whitebeard has enough power and influence to be like, look, you don't touch them because you're gonna have to deal with me.
And we've seen all the steps that the government has to take in order to prepare for Whitebeard. And that's why Jinbei's against this, because if we take him down, that balance is gone. And what happens to Fishman Island? It makes me curious why Sengoku thinks... Well, actually, I guess we did get the answer, is that Sengoku thinks he hates all pirates. Because of probably what happened to Fishman Island.
Right. But he doesn't understand the context.
Yeah. He doesn't realize that Whitebeard's the one protecting Fishman Island. Not the government, Whitebeard.
Yeah. And the way that Jinbei says, like, he protects many other islands as well, but, like, he's a pirate captain, it's wrong to take him down. And I feel like this is sort of a hint to what the wider world is kind of like, and kind of the idea that, like, if Fishman Island and potentially other islands are under Whitebeard's protection, like, what happens to those places, and what happens to, like, you're really getting a sense of, like, the power balance between the world government, the warlords, and the four emperors. And that it is all, it's like surprisingly like complex and political. It's very cool. Absolutely.
And hearing all this, Ace just sort of feels worse. And all Jinbei says is, I haven't given up hope yet, lad. I've always believed in miracles and luck. And that's when we get another returning character.
We don't see his face. He's in shadow, but you see that scar across the middle of his face over his nose, and you're just like, I know who that is.
Yeah, and then we have, see his hook. It's like, very interestingly, he says, this may be my best opportunity to kill Whitebeard. And it's like, you want to kill him? It's like, oh, I'm not the only one. And we just have all these other pirates that locked up around them. Killed Whitebeard. Let me out of here.
Crazy too, assuming this must be like the question mark floor, right? Like this is where where Ace
this is level
held.
5.
It's level 5. Okay.
Yeah, this is level 5. We assume that Ace is on level 5, but yeah. Good God.
And so like just seeing all of these like if this is like where the baddest of the bad are all at, but also this is where Crocodile is at.
Yeah, and Crocodile I believe was below 100 million. So that just shows like that's how dangerous he was by going after Pluton and having that position of warlord. He got put down. Like, we see what his bounty actually would have been, but Crocodile just explains like, yeah, there are plenty of second-rate pirates who hate that they could never defeat the likes of Whitebeard and Roger. They're everywhere, and he loves to talk about his second-rate pirates.
Yeah, I love too, like, again, just talking about like the wider world building, because we, from Jinbei's perspective, it's like, no, Whitebeard protected us, and killing Whitebeard, going after Whitebeard would like ruin the balance of power of this world. And meanwhile, you have all of these pirates who're just like, no, I want Whitebeard dead.
Whitebeard prevented me from doing pillaging and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. So you
like,
get.
I want that seat of power.
You get all these different perspectives, which is just like so interesting.
Time to go back to Buggy and Luffy as they deal with the level 2 floor, and the people monitoring all this is like, oh God, there's 3 of them now. And we see, I love this team up. We get Chop Chop Cannon, Gum Gum Pistol, and Candle Lock as they're fighting these.
Yeah, now we got
weird monsters.
Buggy, Luffy, and Mr. 3 all fighting together. What kind of crazy arc is this?
Oh God. And Buggy's like, I heard the boss monster in level 2 was some kind of lion. Is this it? It's like, no, those are just lions with the faces of men. They're called manticores. And
they look horrible.
Yeah, they do. It's like they look straight out of Thriller Bark.
Yeah, they do.
And apparently they have human vocal organs so they can imitate speech. So they're just repeating the words they've heard the prisoners say. So they're saying like, the key, give me the key. And then all of a sudden they say, loincloth, strawberry panties. It's like, what the hell?
God.
Beefsteak, which actually gets Luffy's attention.
Luffy. Yeah. Incredible. Again, I feel like the implications horrifying, but the humor incredible.
Yeah, they just let wild animals run around here, which keeps the prisoners in line. Which to me, it seems less awful than having to walk across spikes.
Yeah, I guess because it's like having like that's a slow, painful death. I feel like having just like giant monsters roll around, like if you get caught by one, you're probably dead pretty fast.
Yeah, I mean you're getting eaten, but. I mean, neither are great, but hey, as long as they stay in their cells, like that's nice. Preventing things from happening to you. Doesn't seem like there's any way to prevent that with level 1, but who knows? And of course, we get the whole repeat of like Mr. 3, like, okay, let's work together to escape. And Luffy's like, how do I get to level 3? You're like, wait, you're not going to level 1? You don't want to escape?
Yeah.
Like, nope, I'm out of here. I'm gone.
Dear. Yeah. Nope.
He tries to take him with him. It's like, okay, we'll take him. What we can do is take him to the boss monster of level 2. And while Luffy's dealing with him, I can run away.
Yeah. I love that. Like that they're both just like, we gotta get out of Dodge. Like, let's find something that will distract Luffy so that we can just like, just get out.
Go. And that's when we meet the Sphinx, the actual guard beast. And he is huge.
Yeah, and then he has an interesting gimmick where he speaks in terms of noodles. First he says somen. It's like somen noodles, ramen, tanmen.
Amen. It's praying.
It's praying. Yeah,
which is that's a good translation joke.
I almost think that might actually have been in the original, which would have been a great bilingual joke.
Yeah. Oh, that's good stuff. But it goes after them, and the other prisoners like, oh, the Sphinx is smashing out there. Whatever made us think we could escape from this place. And Luffy's like, all right, it's too strong. What are you two doing? And in the background, Mr. 3 and Buggy have made a prison break alliance.
He's got that handshake.
Operation Use Straw Hat as bait. In the meantime, Luffy uses Gum Gum Bazooka, which just makes it upset. And now they actually have to fight it. So it goes after Mr. 3's wax clones.
Which, again, I feel like we're seeing old villains kind of use their powers in new ways is so fun.
Mm-hmm. I like how he mentions that it's not as effective without Golden Week coloring it, but it's more than enough to fool him. But also, I like how Luffy's like, oh, that looks like fun. It's like whack-a-mole. So, he's actually pointing to the Sphinx, like, go after that one.
But of course, due to the Sphinx playing whack-a-mole, it seems that the floor starts to crack a little bit.
Yep. Not so good right now. And Buggy and Mr. 3 try to run for it, but the floor gives away. And, well, they found a way into level 3. They're just falling through the ceiling.
I've never seen somebody fall upwards as much as this group seems to.
Well, for Luffy, it's falling upwards. For the other two, it's just getting worse and worse.
Yeah. I think that's what makes the humor of these chapters so good, is that it is just like the tension between like, oh no, like these guys, they want to leave, but they keep getting dragged in. The dramatic irony is just really fun.
In many ways, Luffy's the straight man, but also because he's the straight man to these two, the wacky ones, it just makes it even funnier because he's still being his very Luffy self.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
The juxtaposition just works so friggin' well.
Yeah, God, it's fun. I love this. I instantly fell in love with this group. Seeing them all just play off of each other is wonderful. I never thought, again, seeing Luffy, Buggy, and Mr. 3 all together.
We do have an SBS where it's mostly birthdays. So Hancock's birthday is September 2nd, thanks to Ku, as in 9, and Ja sounds like Japanese. The Ja in Japanese, so there you go. Or 2 sounds like Ja, so there you go. It's September 9th. And for Shanks, we've got March 9th because of Sha sounding like 3 and X sound like 9 in Japanese. I like how Oda at this point is like, sure, whatever.
Yeah. I wonder if there is like a story reason why like do they even have like a calendar in One Piece? Is that why like I don't know what this world's calendar system is like. So that might be why Oda's just like, I don't care.
I've seen material I don't know if it'll ever come up in this, but it's shown that the world of One Piece is massive compared to Earth. Like, it is so much bigger than Earth.
So I guess that would make sense as to why like time would just work differently.
You can still associate it with the way the Earth calendar works and all that, that sort of thing, but the actual size of the planet is massive.
Yeah. I think it's helpful for the fans because I definitely I feel like it's very common in Japanese fandom for like whenever it's a character's birthday, you know, like you share a bunch of art or you know you like show off a bunch of like you make your shrine dedicated to a certain character. So I feel like it's helpful information for them, but Oda's just like, whatever.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, time for our last chapter for this set, 530 from one hell to another. And the guards were there at level 2 being like, what happened? There's a hole big enough for the Sphinx to fall through. What is Straw Hat trying to do? And they're just like, Buggy's actions have consequences because here come the other guards. Now the Sphinx is not the other guards. Here come the other prisoners. Now the Sphinx is gone, and they start beating the crap out of the other of these guards that are still there.
So it's not like they're causing a prison riot. It's more like they're leaving a prison riot in their wake.
Pretty much, they've cleared all the problems, and they're still crediting Buggy for doing this. So it's like, Buggy, our savior. And they're like, backup requested, and they're in trouble.
Oh, yeah.
All right, get the Blue Gory to level 2. And another guy saying, I found out why Luffy's here. And I love this communication and panic through all of them. Like they have
yeah, they're all like, oh God.
It has a different feel to the assault on Enos Lobby where we had a bunch of Marines that we were dealing with and whatnot. So, yeah, Sengoku at headquarters says there's no doubt about it. Luffy and the condemned prisoner Ace are brothers. So Luffy is trying to rescue Fire Fist before he's executed.
And that explains why he keeps going down from one hell to another. And I love that they were so preoccupied with Whitebeard that like yeah, we could have a major catastrophe on our hands because like we just like it's so fascinating that like you're kind of seeing the government so strapped for resources because they know like we all hands on deck for Whitebeard. So it's almost like Luffy chose to break in at the perfect time.
Yeah, very much so. He's gotten very lucky with all of this. And Magellan's being informed by them while they're trying to put down the riot on level 2. So we'll see how that all goes. But in the meantime, it's time to go back to Navy headquarters where Garp is just laughing it up.
I love this.
Garp is just amused by all of this. And Sengoku's like, oh God, this kid, Enos Lobby, then the attack on the Celestial Dragons, and now Impel Down. What the hell?
Again, and we already saw before this that Sengoku, again, he's like a stressed out middle manager trying to deal with this whole Whitebeard thing, and now all of a sudden it's just like, God, your grandson,
And then you notice this. We have a bit of a movie preview for this panel, where Sengoku says, even if we take into account the escape of Golden Lion, the pirate that could fly, that was still 20 years ago. Out of the hundreds of thousands of prisoners, no one else has ever been able to break in or out throughout history. It's been impregnable for all these years. And this is, we are still 40 chapters from covering the next movie. Maybe trailers were coming out at this point, but Oda is certainly laying the seeds.
Yeah, no, this is just straight up like, yeah, go go watch the movie. Well, I guess maybe we'll talk about it when we talk about it, but like, that is the first like the movie itself is not canon, but like the characters that it features are canon, and that is sort of Oda saying like, no, unlike all of the other movies, like this one is slightly more canon than the rest.
Right. This is also the first time he's being actually involved in the movies and their plots.
Yeah. I feel like for the movies going forward, and again, we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves here, but like all of the ones that are executive produced by Oda, I feel like they have a little bit of something that will tie them into the manga, so that they're not completely non-canon. So there you go. There's like,
right.
It's very funny that this was so far ahead of time that they're like, all right, we'll just put this here, I guess.
Yeah. For context, actually, I just looked at my notes because I always like to take notes about where the things happen for the movies. So the movie came out between episodes 429 and 430 when it came out March of the next year. There was a prologue special, which we probably won't cover. I looked at it. It doesn't seem to be that important to cover. To be honest, we can just focus on the movie itself. But the one after that is, believe it or not, where Jinbei is revealed as Ace's cellmate, which we just encountered. So the movie actually, the anime takes place right here.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah, which also shows it can't be canon because, well, look at what they're doing right now.
Yeah. Well, there's a good few reasons why it can't be canon, but and that is definitely I think a compromise, especially considering, like, I feel like from now going onward, like, there's basically no good spot for any of the movies to take place, just because there's not, like, any really good space for them to squeeze into. And so the compromise is like, well, okay, parts of this will be canon. The events that take place aren't, but the things that are introduced in them can be.
Yes.
So it's a fascinating relationship. That is, I think, more interesting than just like, oh, here's this another random guy who just, like, won't matter.
There's elements that matter, but also, like, the story itself doesn't.
Yeah, this particular character they're referring to, I can at least assure you, like, this is not the last time, actually, that he gets brought up. Yeah, so there's something way later that reinforces that he's a canon character.
It's just funny because, again, the way timing works out sometimes with us and this manga and these movies and stuff like that is so weird. I don't understand it. But anyway, returning to Sengoku's issues, he's like, the first person to ever break in and ruins his reputation is your grandson Garp. And Garp just says, I'm so proud of that boy. He's great.
it's so funny, too, because, again, when you think about Garp, like, you really do think of sort of like his tough love, you know, where, like, when we saw him interact with Luffy, he was all just like, all right, like, get your act together, boy. You know, he felt very strict. But now, you know, he's just like, I'm so proud.
And that's when Sengoku realizes that Kuma lied about annihilating the Straw Hats. Garp's like, yeah, I never believe a warlord's words, but how did Luffy get through that blockade? And Sengoku's like, well, if you weren't called the Navy's hero, I'd make you pay for the sins of your entire family. It's like, this old man's life isn't worth nearly enough to pay for a fiasco like this.
That's so funny. Garp just doesn't care.
He's old and doesn't care.
That's so good. Sengoku's just, like, got him by the collar, and Garp's just laughing it off. It's so good.
I love the interaction between these two. It's so fun.
Again, I feel like it really does come to show, like, Garp is a Navy man, but, like, he does not care about any of this, like, all of, like, the hierarchical, bureaucratical kind of, like, oh, we must maintain, you know, blah, 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 the celestial dragons, blah, 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 you know, we must maintain order. He's just like, nah, dude.
You get the sense he's more about just keeping people safe.
Yeah. Oh, man, it's fun.
Back to level 3 of Impel Down. The Sphinx is knocked out, and all the others are just like, man, it's hot. The floor is like a frying pan. And Mr. 3's in trouble because his wax powers keep melting from all this.
Oh, that's bad news.
Yeah, that's not great. But then Luffy discovers a barbecued bird, and, like, no way. It's like, oh, a hummingbird from the upper floors must have wandered in and got baked by the hot air. It's like an oven.
Holy crap.
Yeah. Now this seems like more of a issue than the spike floor. Where just like, yeah, these men are given very little water and very little food and have to deal with this intense heat. And this is just for 50 million berry bounties on their heads. So, jeez.
I mean, that's small potatoes.
Yeah.
50 million. Come on now.
Yeah. That's insane from some of the bounties that we've seen up to this point. But yeah, there's apparently some sort of inferno in level 4, which, okay, but this is starvation hell. And it's not looking good. But I also love that Luffy decides to refuel a little bit by eating the hummingbird.
Yeah, of course he would.
All right, it's like, all right, you said you wanted to rescue Ace. I never said that. You keep confusing what really happened with what you want to happen. And let me get. So it's like, all right, I'll go alone. But that's when one of the guards, it's like, they're in range, pull the net. And a net comes up, they've got caught in a trap. And yeah, there's sea prism woven into the ropes of iron. And they're just like, oh God, they're going to torture us even more for trying to escape. And yeah.
Well, I love this on the radio.
Caught.
Like, I love this on the radio. We've captured Straw Hat, Luffy, and the other two. And presumably Buggy's like, other two? Don't you know who I am?
It's over. Doesn't matter. Put the sea prism cuffs on him. And Luffy's just like, who are you? I'm Saldeth. You don't look like one. And that's what. Thank God we got that because Saru means monkey. So.
Yeah, well, I feel like it's funny because the translation note is only half the joke.
Oh, really?
Because death, also sounds like des, which, basically is sort of like I am. So, basically like, so in Japanese, he's saying, Saru desu, which is like, it sounds like saying I am a monkey. But no, his name is just Sal Death.
That's amazing. That's
yeah.
God, the Japanese puns. I don't think English puns can ever match up. There's just so many different ways they can have puns.
It's God, when you see all the number nonsense that goes into the birthdays, like it gets complex.
It really does. But time for us to meet the captain of the guard and the commander of the Blue Gory, Saldeth.
He just looks like a little guy.
Just a little guy with a pitchfork and a horned hat. And again, devil wings. What the hell?
Yeah, I don't know what, like, is that part of the uniform? Like,
maybe that signifies rank? I don't know.
Maybe they're all just Skypeids.
Maybe. But we also got a hint of what's to come on level 4 because he's like, yeah, I'd be glad that I captured because the floor under this is patrolled by 4 roaming jailer beasts. Those are the Minotaur-like ones that we've seen beat Jinbei and Ace and whatnot. So, So, not looking good. They've basically been captured when all of a sudden the Sphinx wakes up and breaks through the net. So, wow. Yep, with a roar of spaghetti soup. Yes, exactly. Luffy lands and takes out the Blue Gory. And there's it's like looking up to see what the other two are up to. And it's like, goodbye. Give my regards to Ace. If he's alive, we tell him we should get a drink together. He's like, bye, sucker. And Luffy's just like, thanks for taking me this far. It's like, he's such a optimist that hurts on the inside.
So honest. I love him. It just he cannot fathom being betrayed.
Nope.
It's just the best. He's so pure.
Because they helped him get down. It really gives a line of like why he realized that Marguerite tried to save him or stick up for him, even though they tried to kill him earlier. It's like, yeah, but she's nice. She's actually cool.
Yeah. I feel like that's sort of the great thing about Luffy too. Like he sees through it all, Like it's like, no, you tried to help me, so you're actually a good person, even if you don't want to admit it.
Kind of, maybe for these two, hard to say.
Yeah.
But Luffy's fighting. That's when the Sphinx shows up. He's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get out of here, and he just starts jumping over heads and just able to make us get away. Mr. 3 and Buggy are in the rafters and they're just like, okay, how do we get out of here? They've all gone after Straw Hat, so what do we do? And that's when they start to hear singing. Under gra. This world is made for men and women, but when you're me, you're both a man and a woman. That's why I'm the strongest. Oh, come my way. And hell yeah, Mr. 2 Bon Clay is back.
Yes. It's a whole Baroque Works reunion down here. We got Mr. 2, we got Mr. 3, Crocodile's here somewhere.
We know Mr. 1 was taken into custody, so if I had to guess, I'm not 100% sure on this, but Mr. 1 has to be on like level 4, right?
It has to be. Yeah, I could not imagine. If we've got everybody else who's, I don't know. I feel like when we say old villains, it really is like Baroque Works and Buggy.
Pretty much, but granted, we can't really have Skypean villains on here. We've already seen what CP9's up to, so...
Yeah, so it really, it's them.
Yep. And he's taking heat just fine. There's no issue. But that's when he spots the two of them, and it's like... He might be getting freed. He's like, I changed my mind about setting him free. What is this strange creature?
Well, I think what I love about this is, and you sort of get the hint on the previous page, or, while Bon Clay is singing, I'm the strongest, you hear other voices go, strongest. And so you sort of see him dancing with all the other, like, just like dried out prisoners.
Trying to, because they definitely are in much worse shape.
So he's gotten a little crew of his own down here, which is great. I love Bon Clay. I'm glad he's back.
Oh, I am very glad he's back. And
oh man,
that's where we end.
Whew. That was a lot. That was a lot of manga.
I get the feeling that this is going to be our new length of our episodes.
We were doing so well, and now these are all like
There's
hour and a
too
half
much
on
going on. We can't.
There really is.
We're not even like going every little bit, but there's funny moments. There's little story things. There's the world building that's still going on. There's connections upon connections, and it really it feels like, as we've said many times, that Oda has his foot off on the gas. They're just going.
Yeah, and that was 5 chapters. It's so much happened. That was our basically, plus or minus last week. This was basically like our first 5 chapters of Impel Down, and it feels like in any other arc or most other arcs, we already would have been like it feels like 10 chapters worth of like content in 5.
For sure. I mean, I thought this for a while. I don't mean to throw it under the bus or anything like that. It's all different styles. Not every manga can be like One Piece with how much is in here, but it reminded me of how back in the day I read through all of Bleach. Not the entirety. I stopped at the same point I stopped at for One Piece. In fact, Bleach is what inspired it convinced me to stop, because I was keeping up with the big 3. But Bleach, I'd spent all this time catching up to it, and when I finally did, I realized the chapter to chapter releases, it felt like nothing happened. There was no progress in the story, and it was starting to get to me. So when he announced, Taitai Kubo announced that they were entering the final arc, I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a break from all 3 of them and come back later so I could just finish them up. And I just never got back to them.
Yep.
It felt like there was so little to talk about in any individual chapter. I mean, it's great all at once. You really get into the flow of it. But chapter to chapter, it doesn't work. But One Piece, there is so much to talk about.
Yeah. No, it really is. Again, they're different manga with different goals, and I feel like that's sort of the difference. Like, One Piece has action in it, but it is an adventure comedy, like, first and foremost. So like the individual chapters feel like they're much more based around like, if not raw plot progression, then like fun character interactions, or just like you're getting a bunch of interesting little ideas all at once. And there are very few chapters where it's just like, here's this one guy fighting this other guy, and we're just gonna do that for like 15 chapters in a row.
For sure. The earlier bits of the manga were definitely like that, but now it seems like he's sort of found his rhythm about balancing action to the adventure.
I would even go as far as to say that it's something you can kind of criticize about One Piece sometimes, because it is a little bit too dense sometimes, and even there's usually a point during every arc while I'm reading it week to week where I'm like, I've forgotten things from 30 chapters ago. So it can be a lot of details to juggle when you're only getting 1 chapter a week, or even less, since the manga takes pretty frequent breaks these days. So
yeah,
it was funny watching the anime for the current arc, which is on the same arc that the manga is about to finish. And so like the anime is at the beginning of the arc, and I'm like, I don't remember most of this stuff. Even though it was like 50 chapters ago, I'm like, oh, this is a problem. So
that's what this podcast is for.
One Piece benefits greatly from patience and just soaking in the details and reading it, like just being able to kind of keep it all in your head. And so when you are waiting week to week, I do feel like the storytelling suffers a little bit, but not as badly as it does for more action-focused manga, like Naruto or Bleach, even.
Yeah, and I've heard some complaints about certain chapters of Dragon Ball Super, where it's just
yeah, that one's worse too because it's monthly.
Yeah,
so you can get an action chapter and it'll be like, that was cool action, but like nothing happened.
Right.
And even my beloved Kaiju number 8, like there are a lot of comments that people don't love the pacing of it, because it does have kind of the pace of like a Bleach, where there are a lot of just like straight action chapters, but it's bi-weekly. So even that is just like, well, you wait 2 weeks for 20 more pages of like guys punching each other.
It's an interesting discussion to have, but it also explains why these are getting longer and longer. But I also know that I've gotten a lot of comments like, we don't care, we like it longer.
I'm more worried for you because you have to edit all of it.
Yeah, I know, because there's certain things to edit where we're not always on top of our game, where we just like get rid of the ums and tighten up the pacing and all of that stuff. So
for sure.
That's my problem, though. I'm glad you all enjoyed it. But with that, I believe we've said all we've wanted to say about chapters 526 to 530 of One Piece. Thank you so much for listening, and you can find more of my ramblings and stream VODs over at BitNerd Games on YouTube, or BitNerd with an underscore at the end on Twitter. And Brandon, where can everyone find you at?
I'm at Brandon Bovia on Twitter, talking about anime, manga, games, and my job, and yeah, just doing more of the same. Can't wait to come back next week and talk about more One Piece. Like, it feels absurd that this was basically our first episode of Impel Down. There was so much happening.
It doesn't feel like the first episode, does it? It feels like this is the second or third.
Yeah.
Crazy. But if you'd like to help us out more, you can support the podcast over at patreon.com/Derek Bittner. That's DERRICKBITNER to listen to the next episode ad-free 3 days early. And make sure to return next time as we discuss chapters 531 to 535 of One Piece. So until then, my friends, bye.
Remember to take life one piece at a time.
Oh, come on. I'm a poison man. I love poison. It's just like the old saying goes. Poison kills poison, I believe.
Well, that's why you have venomous diarrhea.
Yes, and I'm afraid that you have a venomous tongue, Hannibal.
Hurry up and retire so I can become warden. Oopsie. Please hurry and show our guests a fire fist.